Hey, this is Josh from Josh Builds, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build this catamaran right here. Now, it cost me around $200, which is comparable to a $2,000 catamaran, which is what you'd probably find in a store. And as you can see, it's built all out of styrofoam and wood mostly, which is stuff you can find at your local hardware store. So if you stick with us through this video, you can see all the tests and how it's built.
So I'm going to be trying something new out for larger projects such as this one. Basically what I'll be doing is offering two types of videos. One of the videos will be like this one and my other usual videos, where I show an outline of how to build the project. The other video will be longer, more in depth, with more explanations, and will include schematics, material lists, etc. So basically videos for people who are really interested in the project and want to build it. So if you're interested in seeing the full version, you can check the description to learn more. To start the build off, I'm going to get some light structural lumber and some insulating foam that you can get from any hardware store. These are going to be used to build the pontoons. Now I'm going to lay the pontoons out with a piece of wood on each side and styrofoam in the middle. And at first I'm going to start by drilling some struts. I end up changing the struts up later, as you can see, but right now I start off by putting one strut in the middle and one on each end. Now I'm going to build a nice triangular front for my pontoon. So I'm going to line up a piece of wood and then cut it to size. Once that's done, I extend the front to help make the triangle. Now as you can see from this picture, I changed it up a little to two struts that are separated instead of one in the middle. So you can go ahead and position your struts the way they were positioned in the picture. Now I'm going to cut the styrofoam out to fit in the front part of our pontoon here. Once that's done, I'm going to use the larger styrofoam sheets that are going to be used for the sides. This styrofoam is a little bit of a harder styrofoam, and I just decided to use this saw to cut them all at once. And I cut them down to size so that they'll be the same size as the pontoons. Now I'm going to mix up some epoxy and put it all around the wooden frame here so that I can attach the larger styrofoam sheets to it. I'm going to start off with just one sheet on each side. And then once that's done, I'll apply some weight to it so it glues nice and even. And then once that's done, you can go ahead and cut the sides down a little, just to give the bottom of it at least a nice little bevel. And then I'll add a triangle to the front. Now once that's done, you can go ahead and do it for the other side and complete the other pontoon. As you can see, I did that and also added a couple triangles here, which we're going to build the structure off of. Now I'm going to add a couple more smaller pieces of styrofoam to the inside of our pontoons, and I'll epoxy them into place like we did before. Once they're all dried, we can do another bevel just to cut off some of the material here and make it look a little nicer and hydrodynamic. Now it's come to building the frame. So for this, I'm going to use the thicker pieces of wood we have, and I'm going to drill them into those little triangles that I added there for mounting. And once I have it all positioned out, I'll make sure it's completely parallel, both of the pontoons, and then I'll drill them into place in a pattern kind of like that. Now I need a piece of wood in the center for a structure and for mounting things off of. And once that's drilled in, I also want to add a few of these screws in 3 spots just to help secure the sail when we decide to put it in. What's next is I'll get a piece of plywood and I'm going to trace out the shape of the keel and the rudder. Once I have the shapes traced out, I'm going to cut it. So here we have the piece of plywood cut out that is going to be used as the centerboard. Now on the middle beam we have running down the center of our catamaran, I'm just going to build a little slot so that I can slide the centerboard down into the middle of our catamaran. Once I have that glued on there, you can see the centerboard fits perfectly in the middle. Now I'm going to build a mount for the rudder off the back of the boat. Because the rudder has to turn side to side, I'm going to mount it on a hinge, which I drill right into the back. Now I'm going to attach the rudder in with a bolt at the very top. Now I want the rudder to be able to pivot up and down too, depending on the water depth. So I'll put a bolt through the top, and then I'm going to drill another hole in the lower hole of the hinge, and this will be where I put a removable bolt that will just be that I'll put in when it's underwater. Now I'm going to drill and make a handle for our rudder with some more of the plywood. and that's going to need to be able to pivot to. So I'm going to attach that with just one bolt as well, and push that through the back. And now to finish off the front of the handle of the rudder, I just glue it together. And now here is basically the final boat. I put down another piece of plywood for a seat, and that's that. Next is the last part, is to add somewhere to mount the sail. For this, I just get a small piece of PVC pipe around the same size of the sail I'm using and drill it in. Now I can put the sail in there and attach the 3 metal cables to the screws that I put in there earlier. Once that's done, I can start putting the main sail up. And then after that, I also put the jib up. And then this is the finished product we have here. Now it's time to test it out. Now, first thing to do when I got on the water was to put the second bolt in the rudder so it no longer pivots upwards anymore. After that, it was time to sail, but unfortunately there was very little wind. I thought I might almost have to cancel it and test it another day, but once I got far enough away from shore, I started to catch a little bit of wind. It would have been nicer to test it on a windier day, but at the same time I wouldn't have been able to bring my cameras onto the boat. So I guess this was a decent balance of wind and little waves. And as you can see, I got a few decent gusts of wind. I've sailed in windier days, not on this boat, but I figured this could have gone faster if there was a little more wind. And it seemed to be fairly good. It was responsive when you wanted to steer. It could tack and jibe, basically anything that any other sailboat can do. After a long day of testing, this seemed to work pretty well. Now, if you really like this project or decide you want to build it, I would recommend you check out the full video. It's complete with schematics, diagrams, material list, basically everything you would need to build this boat. There's lots more description of the things I did, discussion on different things, math behind the buoyancy of the pontoons and how you could calculate depending on how much weight you want to put on it. So there's lots more to the full video, so I definitely recommend you check it out if you are really interested in this. Anyways, thanks for watching.